Blandings, all right, was, does anybody remember it? It was about 7, 8 years ago. No, more than that probably now. It was an adaptation of P.G. Wodehouse stories. Hey.
With Timothy Spall.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, okay, jolly good. I remember. Well done. Good. I think it was on something like Dave or something like that recently. I think they played it again. But it was a BBC One series. It went out at like 6:45 on a Sunday evening, and it was very much sort of aimed for the family audience. And it was a tough one, because if you remember back in the 90s, there was an adaptation of Jeeves and Wooster, which featured Stephen Fry and what's his name, Hugh Laurie. That's the one. Yeah. Okay. So it was it was, there was a lot riding on this. Okay. Because there'd been no kind of P.G. Wodehouse adaptation since then. And for some people, P.G. Wodehouse is this kind of like this very, very sacred type of thing, which mustn't be played around with. What the BBC did was that they kind of really subverted it and made it very, very rude and naughty, and either you loved it or you absolutely hated it. And it was the same type of thing. A lot of people kind of liked the music, and a lot of people absolutely hated it. So, which is not easy to see, especially in the olden days. If there was a bad review in a paper, you just don't buy the paper the next day and it's all gone. But now everything's kind of online forever, isn't it? So it's hard to escape it. But it was a tricky one. A lot of tension, because a lot of people with different ideas about how it should be going, because it was a family show as well. Whether it should be some of the references should be a little bit below the belt and whatever. So there's a lot of discussions when the program was being made. So when I got the gig, or I think I might have been pitching for it, they sort of said, well, come up with a theme for it. Okay. So the automatic type of thing you think of is, for this type of thing, it's set in the 20s, early 30s or whatever. So you're going to think of like early jazz. You're going to be thinking of sort of palm court music and things like that. But they want it all quite rude and quite, as I say, quite up and subversive and very, very cheeky and lively. Okay. So the first theme I came up with was this. Okay, so it's got like baritone sax, which is all kind of like all a bit farty in the button and the bottom and things like that. So that was the first idea. Okay, then Guy Andrews, who was the writer, said that he had been reading some diaries or old writings of P.G. Wodehouse, and P.G. Wodehouse absolutely loved honky-tonk piano music. And I don't know whether you know Honky Tonk Train Blues by Meade Lux Lewis. It's very, very popular. It's one of the classic honky tonk blues. And so suddenly he thought, now if P.G. Wodehouse likes that type of thing, that's unlocking the idea of the show, the feel of the show for me. It's not going to be a reverential thing about the British upper classes. We're going to just take the mick out of them, you know. So he thought, I think it should be honky tonk, the theme tune. So I did this, which is actually the Honky Tonk Train Blues. Okay, then, I mean, that was 14 seconds long. I think that the theme tune was intended to be like 17 seconds, so there's not a lot you can do. So then they sort of said, oh, I think it needs a bit more. Okay, and then someone said, I think it needs brass, it needs big band. Okay, so here we go. Okay, and then what happened next? Hold on. Okay, right, so now in between all of that, they were, someone said, what about ragtime? Well, perhaps we can make it more ragtime, bit gentle. That's a bit too in your face. How about making so I kind of like dug up my old Scott Joplin books, and sort of thought, okay, right, let's do something like that. So I did a few ragtimes, and they didn't like that. Then the whole honky tonk thing came. So say there's 7 people who are kind of talking about what the music should do. 4 people liked the honky tonk, 3 people didn't. Okay, we're going to have to try, you know. So, and you know that if you change it, you know, the 4 people who like it aren't going to like it anymore, and the 3 people, you know, who didn't like it are going to like it. So, so we tried, yeah, we kind of, I think the honky tonk thing wasn't going to work. I think because the BBC were worried about the fact whether people would get it. You know, here's P.G. Wodehouse, here's the castle and the Lord Emsworth and you know, so all the aristocracy doing silly things. But there's like honky tonk piano music. Where's the link for that? Okay, so. So that was the honky tonk idea was shelved, even though we did use quite a lot of honky tonk music in the actual cues in the for when something really stupid happened. We use that type of music in the incidental. So next version. How many versions have we done so far? Ignoring the ragtime. So that was one version. The last one was okay, so that was the final version. So we got there in the end. Okay, did you see the difference between the two? There was one which had the theme, and then had the middle bit, and then the theme, whereas this one goes straight in to the I can remember, I should get off social media, I really should, because the comments about it, some people said the composer who wrote this music should have a listen to the music that was written for Jeeves and Wooster and get some lessons about how to write music for this type of thing. And then other people saying, this music sounds exactly like the music for Jeeves and Wooster, you know, so you just could not win, you know. And I can remember the first series, and you think, oh God, you know, it's as I said, there was a lot of discussion about it. A lot of people didn't like it, a lot of people did like it, but then they did a second series, and I thought, okay, well, good luck to whoever the composer's got to be. And it was great actually, because there was a different producer, there was a different director, different editorial team and whatever. But they actually asked me back to do the second series, which I was, you know, pleased about, which was great. You know, wasn't expecting that at all. But you know, you just never know. You just never know, because I thought, oh God, I've really cooked my books here. You know, they're never going to ask me back again. And the second series kind of settled down. All the kind of like the overdone bits were kind of like made a, you know, it was softened at the edges, shall we say, and the music was softened at the edges as well. And it was lovely, because the director was fantastic. You know, we got on really, really well. I had the best musicians you can imagine, especially sort of the trumpet players and the woodwind players and trombone player. Just the best musicians you could possibly have for this type of music. So anyway, so that's Blandings for you. So that's just an example of sometimes how you kind of put a little bit under the cosh, and you've got to really think on your feet sometimes, and you've got to be adaptable as well. That's one of the things, is really trying to, you know, if they say that's not going to work, we need to have it a bit like this, then it's just having that adaptability in your skill set that you can actually sort of like change things and give them what they want, what they're looking for, you know. Okay.